can read other questions. Again, it's just another way for you to get information. Same thing with the training videos. Again, depending upon the level of software that you have, the training video that they put up here may or may not pertain to the level that you have. But again, it is a great way to get other information on the software. Now to the left, and again, like I said, I am actually powered up to our Composer system. Again, everyone from Composer to Maestro starts in the same place. So I just minimize what's on my screen so it makes it a lot easier for people to see what I'm doing. So the tools that I have over here are, again, going to be tools that everyone here has, no matter what the level that you have. So those, again, on the left-hand side are your regular toolbars that we're going to use. You're going to see off here to the right-hand side, you've got some flyouts. Again, right now I have my Properties flyout thumbtacked open. Again, if you needed to give yourself some more screen space, you can unthumbtack that. When you do, they're all over here, and when you put your cursor on it, it flies out. When you let go of it, it goes back in. So you've got all of the different pieces coming down here on the right-hand side. Again, like I said, if it's something you want to see all the time, when it flies out, you can come up here and thumbtack it open. So you've got that little thumbtack over here. Click on it, and it's going to keep it open. Now you've got your interactive ribbon bar here at the top. So depending upon where you are in the software, it's going to give you different things that you can do at that moment in time. So you will see that this will change based on where you are in the design process. Let's just see, there is a question that was over here. As far as always using a CND file, it really depends on where you're getting your design files from. So if you're getting your design files from a Pulse digitizer, again, you want to get that in PXF format. Again, that's our newest format for Pulse. If you are getting them from someone who does not digitize on Pulse, in order to get that in outline file format, then you would want to go ahead and get that in CND format. Okay, did that answer your question? Okay. So what we want to do now is we are going to go ahead and create a new file. I happen to like to use the start page. Like I said, if you want to go ahead and go to File New, that's fine too. Again, once you click on here, you're going to see that window pop up. So if I come over to that new design wizard that we talked about, and I click on OK, this is where I can select that recipe. So if I click on the down arrow next to normal, I can scroll up or down, and that's allowing me to come in here and select a recipe. So right now I just selected t-shirt. It will show you all of the changes that were made to the settings in order to come in here and have that recipe selected. Everything is listed in metric because we're the only ones actually using inches. So again, when it goes into your software, if you have switched that over to inches, then everything will translate for you. We're going to click on Finish, and it's going to open up that new design window. So first of all, speaking of those units, again, I already have mine switched to inches, but realize that if you have just installed your software, that it does install in metric. If you do not want to be using metric, you can come up here, go into Tools, go to your user settings, And in here, you're going to see that it says units. So you can click on units. So the units of measure, if you want it in inches, that's going to be imperial. Then for your embroidery setting units, you're also going to want that in inches, as well as your units of density. So all three of these should be the only thing checked if you want this to be completely in inches. Okay. Again, the other thing that comes in for your thread charts, it comes in using Madeira Classic 40 weight rayon thread. If that is not what you're using, by all means, you can change your default. Okay. Now, another big one, and we will come back to this in a little bit, but we want to point this out since we're in the user settings. So under text, where it says font types, when you load your software, it is going to hide the old fonts. Okay, so it's hiding the old fonts. If you want to be able to see all of the fonts that are loaded into your systems, then you're going to want to make sure that you change this so that it displays all the fonts. So again, if you don't do that, then you're going to notice that when you go in, that it's only going to say new embroidery fonts and true types. Now, I know some of you like to use a grid, so if you want to turn the grid on, you're going to see there is a show grid icon. So once you click on it, it's going to put your grid up here. If you want to change any aspect of the grid, if you move your cursor so it is on top of the ruler off here to the left-hand side and you right-click, you're going to see those grid settings come up. So you can see that you can tell it what size your grid squares are, what color they are. I actually have it highlighting in a different color. So really what I have in my case is each one of those little squares is 1/10 of an inch. And then it's putting a darker line at every 10 squares. So again, really those are 1-inch squares. So those real big, the really big dark lines are 1 inch. Each of the tiny ones are 1/10 of an inch. Again, you can use solid lines, dashed lines, dotted lines. The big one you want to watch out for is snap to grid. If your snap to grid is turned on, I guarantee you will probably be making a call to support because all of a sudden you're trying to put things on your screen and your cursor is bouncing all over the place. So you can always right click on that ruler, bring up those grid settings and uncheck the snap to grid. Another big one we want to have you look at. So as you are looking at these icons over here across the top, right above my ruler, this one is show commands, which is going to show you where the commands are. It's not going to put any in. It's going to show you where a trim is. It's going to show you where a color change is. So again, it's a place that's going to show you those commands. Show dots, again, are going to show you the digitized points. They'll also show you needle penetrations. It's optional depending on what you're doing, whether these are on. You're going to see that our show beads are going to be important in a minute because in our case with lettering, which is what we're doing today, that's what's going to show you your kerning beads and your center dots. Here's another big one. If you turn off your show stitches, they're still up there, but you're just not going to see them. So that's going to turn your stitches on and off. This one is show outline. So again, like we said, you have outline points. Those are the ones that the digitizer created. If you turn that off, you won't see those. Here is the big one that we get a huge amount of calls in support. This one right here is show active group. If you're finding that you have to select something in order to view it, you have probably accidentally hit this one right here. So this one should be off. So you can kind of tell with mine when something is on, it's pushed in so it turns gray. So in this case, this one should not be gray. I happen to like to work with my grid off, so I'm going to turn it off. But again, that is an option, so you can always turn your grid on or off at any point. Okay? So we are going to start to look at our different baselines for creating text. And what you're going to find with the new DG platform is that we not only have these flyouts over here, but our toolbars themselves are flyouts. So right over here, you can see this letter A, which is going to contain all of my text baselines. If I click and hold, see that flyout? So it has all the other ones. So we're going to actually start off with what we call line angle. So I'm going to left click on my line angle tool. The minute I do that, you're going to see all of this populate over here on the right-hand side. So with your line angle baseline, it's what we call a box baseline. So it's going to allow you to create your straight line of text, but you actually have to draw the box. So you're going to left click to line. You're going to move your cursor. See how it's telling me how long my line is? So whatever length line you want, you're going to draw it. You're going to left click. Then it's going to have you tell it what height to make it. So you're going to pull up to get the height of your text. Left click again. And it's going to give you a box to type in. Now, we used to, for some of you who have updated or upgraded your software, we used to have a special button for multi-line. We no longer have a special button for multi-line. If the baseline that you are using has the capability of doing multiple lines of text, it's going to be extended like this is. So if you only see an area that's going to let you type one line, then you can't do multi-line with that tool. So in our case, if I wanted to put multiple lines, then you're going to just hit the Enter key in order to continue to the next line. I'm just going to go ahead and type my name on the screen. Click on OK. So my name is now on the screen. Now, a lot of times we are going to discuss some shortcuts. Shortcuts are things on the keyboard that make it a lot easier for you to do a task. So the first one we want to look at is going to be 1-to-1. So if you hit 1 on your keyboard, it's going to make it actual size. So as far as where that is on your actual tools over here, this is going to be all of your view tools over here. And they're going to change. So based on which one I've selected, that's going to change. Because remember, this is a flyout. So if it has that little dark triangle in the bottom right-hand side, it's a flyout. So again, it's the same as clicking there and hitting 1-to-1. So that's actual size. 2 on your keyboard is fit to window. 3 is actually going to give you a 3D view. Again, just remember with 3D view, it does tend to make your system run slower. So it is meant to be a viewing tool. So once you look at it that way, click on it again and turn off the 3D view. Right, as we work, these are changing. Okay, so it's definitely changing. The same thing as your view up here in that top toolbar. So in that ribbon interface, what you're going to notice is that when you have a box around an object, again, in this case, there's only one object, that is going to be the overall size of the object that is selected. If you click off of it so nothing is selected, then what you're seeing up here is the size of the overall design. Okay, so when you select something, in this case, obviously it's the same thing, but that's going to be the size of what's in the box. So now that I have my name up here, you're going to notice some things over here. So again, it is up to you. Do you like to look at it over here? Do you want to click text up here and see it? So there is not a right or a wrong way. Again, in my case, I tend to use the one off to the right because my screen size cuts off the flyout up here at the top. But again, there's not a right or a wrong way to do that. So you can see over here is the height of my text. This is what it says. So if you needed to retype this because you spelled it incorrectly, or you really wanted this to be all uppercase letters or all lowercase letters, you could change that here. Then we come over here to your font. And remember, we just discussed that setting. So if you have changed it so you are displaying all of your fonts, you're going to notice under font type that you have 3 choices: your true types, your new embroidery fonts, and your old embroidery fonts. Again, it does default to your new embroidery fonts. So when you go over here and you click on a font, what it's showing you is what falls under the new embroidery fonts. So it is giving you, obviously, a look at what this font is going to appear. So these are the letters. This is the style. Another real important thing it's telling you, you may not even realize it is telling you this, is that if it's showing you upper and lowercase letters, that font has upper and lowercase letters. If it shows you pictures, that doesn't mean I'm going to type my name in squares and circles and all of these types of things. Those are stock designs that we've stored as a font. You may also notice as you're going down and you are selecting things, if you're only seeing uppercase letters, dead giveaway that that font does not have lowercase letters. You may also notice as you're scrolling that you may get down here. Let me just find one. That actually says a size. So if it says that this is a 4mm font, we're not kidding. So the ones that have sizes next to it are part of our small font collection. So if it says 4mm, it has been digitized 1 stitch at a time to sew at 4mm. Again, don't worry if you are not overly familiar with the metric system. In your size, you would type in 4mm and it would translate that for you. So we've tried to give you some idea as you're just scrolling as to what that font contains. So if you want to change your font, you can scroll over here, left click on it, and it's going to change the font. Now there is a page for every font that is in the system. Whether you own it or not, there's a catalog. So it's contained in your help menu. So if you ever need to learn anything about a font, that's what you're going to look at. So when we come in here under the help menu, you're going to see that we can click on fonts. Again, just because you see it in the help menu does not mean that you own it, because it is not only showing you what you have, but it's giving you the catalog that you can see all the fonts that we sell. So we can actually go over here to index. So in our case, we're using Brantford New. So I can start typing. And then here's my Brantford New. I can display it. So again, it's showing me what this font looks like. Here's those available keystrokes we were just talking about a minute ago. So this shows me in the picture that this has upper and lowercase letters. The available keystrokes are indicating to me that it does have upper and lowercase letters. This does have numbers. It has the punctuation that is listed. So again, if you don't see it in the available keystrokes, it is not available in that font. If you try and type it in there, it's going to give you an error message. That doesn't mean that Pulse forgot it. It just means that it was not part of the font when it was created. Again, not every font is going to have the same punctuation. For that matter, not every font has numbers even. And definitely not every font has foreign characters. So if it is a font that does contain foreign characters, it's going to show that to you here. If Pulse wants to give you some information as far as the use of that font and the recommendations, it's going to be in the center section. Then we have our recommended height values. So minimum is self-explanatory. Don't use it smaller than that. So again, right here it says this can go to 0.28 in inches. Now the maximum is maximum height as a satin. Does that mean that we can't go higher than that? No, we can go higher than that. It just can't be a satin stitch. Now, when you do have these foreign characters or something special that you want to use, you're going to need to come over here under Contents and under that Getting Started. So you can see there's a plus sign here. Click on it and it opens up. And there is a Special Characters list. So in that Special Characters list, again, this applies to any font that we have. So any font that we have that has a special character, it's going to use this particular list. So if you want to print this out to keep it handy, it's definitely one that I would probably print out. But as you scroll, you're going to see that it tells you. So here's some of those foreign characters that we were talking about. So here's the foreign character. Here's what you have to click on your keyboard to make it come up. So again, I'm going to change that letter E in my name. So again, it's telling you you have to hold the Alt key and then on your numeric keypad. So again, on the numeric keypad, you are going to need to type the number. If you don't type it on a numeric keypad, it will not work. So I'm going to come over here. Get rid of the E, hold down my Alt key, I typed in 0233, I'm going to hit my Enter key and you can see that it now has the E with the accent. So again, you need to use a numeric keypad to type that out. As far as your help menu, you can absolutely come in here when you're in your help menu and you go to fonts. Obviously, that's font help, but under contents, you can definitely come in here and under contents, you can look at different categories. So you can see that Pulse has categories here. You can obviously go through index. Sometimes I just go ahead if it's something that I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but I know a keyword, I'll just do it under search. So that's like a keyword search. So you can type in like the word font, for instance, click on list topics, and anything that mentions the word font is going to be here. So again, here's selecting characters in a font, for instance. So it's going to go ahead and bring that up in your help menu. Okay. As far as not showing what on the left-hand side of your screen. I'm not quite sure I understand what's missing. So when you click on help, it should bring this all up. Just make sure that you're seeing everything up here. I mean, do you see fonts and that kind of thing, or you just don't see anything? Because it could just be that like my screen actually doesn't show everything that can be up here. So you may just have to go ahead and possibly see about how that screen size is affecting what's up here. So you may want to put in a ticket into support. But again, anytime you click on anything up here, I mean, you should see things come up across here. So this would be, like I said, when you click contents, then you should get all of this information. Yeah, so if this is cut off, then it sounds like your screen size is affecting what you're seeing. So definitely speak to someone in that, in our support department, and maybe they can log on to your screen and see if they can adjust it. Does anyone else have any questions on that before we go into our next topic? Okay. So the next thing that we are going to look at, remember we are talking about these dots. So first of all, if you are not seeing dots underneath your letters, they're in the centers of your letters, then you may have accidentally turned off. So remember we were talking about these. If we go ahead and click on our show beads, you are going to see all of our dots underneath our letters. So these are what we call our kerning beads. Okay, so with your kerning beads, it's a way to visually space things. So you can see your cursor. See how your cursor is like a black arrow? As you bring it into the box, it turns into a hand. And you'll also see this big white arrow. So if you're on one of these dots, the arrow will actually turn white and you can click and drag. So see how you can click and drag and move your letters around? As far as the text box, I mean, the text box is going to be larger because it's just centered. So the lettering is centered inside the box. So, I mean, that's exactly what we've told it to do. So that's what you're seeing as far as that text inside the box. So when you have these dots, again, you can easily come in here and just move them around. So you can move individual letters. You can also come in here and you can move them in groups. So if I go ahead and I am holding down my control key, and let's say I'm on the letter A, and I click and drag. See how it's moving what I'm on and everything to the left of it as a group? So that is when I'm on the control key. On the other hand, if I'm holding the shift key and I'm on the letter A, it's allowing me to move what I'm on and everything to the right of it as a group. Okay. Let's see if we go back here to the questions. Let's see. So for that letter that I put in here, I came in here and I held down the Alt key. And again, like I said, you have to type on the numeric keypad. Okay. So again, whatever you type in here, oops, I guess you shouldn't continue clicking buttons. So if I type in my name, I hold down the Alt key, 0233, let go. Get rid of this other E. Okay. As far as getting rid of that crosshair, if you still have the big crosshair on there, under that same tools and then user settings, that's going to be if you click on the little plus sign next to environment, you click on display and you're going to see it says show crosshair cursor. You can uncheck that and it is going to allow you to get rid of that and just have the arrow like I have. So again, all of these are options. This is our Embroidery Essentials Part 1. So again, if you are just logging in, that's what class you are in right now. Again, we're going to get to some of these other dots, and I think it's going to answer some of the other questions. So again, let's go ahead and continue. So like we said over here, if you are using the Kerning dots, that is a visual. There are two other ways that we can go in and space out our letters. So we can actually come here to our properties for our letter spacing. You can put in a positive or a negative number. So again, these are in M spaces. So usually a number between 1 and 5 is completely sufficient, because with those numbers, it is going to kind of max out at 5, because that's usually what we use for the space bar. So if you have to put more than 5, go ahead and hit the space bar. So again, if you put in a 1, it's going to put extra space in between them, and it does it all at one time. If you put in a -1, it's bringing them closer together. So having a spacing of 0, that doesn't mean that you don't have any spacing. It just means that it's not adding any more than the digitizer did when they created the font. Now, another way that you can put spacing in between letters is to actually use what we call the kerning arrows. So the greater than and less than keys on your keyboard are your kerning arrows. If you don't want to remember which one is greater than or less than, if the arrow points to the left, it's taking space away. If the arrow goes to the right, it is adding space. So again, you can individually do this. So you can, if you wanted to make these closer, say I put in 2 arrows going to the left between the I and the E. See how it just moved that? So you can put in 1, you can put in 2. Whatever you want to do, it's going to allow you to just individually space those particular characters. So again, when you are using the kerning, that is moving it left to right along the baseline. Okay, so getting back to that crosshair cursor again, we went over to Tools at the top, User Settings. You want to click on the plus sign next to Environment, click on Display, and it's right here, Show Crosshair Cursor. Okay. All right. So the next dot, so again, I think this is going to answer some of the other questions I see in the chat box. So with the center dots, so again, we said that the kerning dots on the bottom allow us to move left to right along the baseline. The ones that are in the center, the first thing it allows you to do is move the characters above or below the baseline. So these are up and down. So again, the whole thing will move if you put your cursor inside the box and see the hand. If you see the little white arrow, see how it's allowing you to move above or below the baseline. It's also giving you a little box around the letter so that you can individually edit the letter itself. So on the far left-hand side of the box, you're going to see you've got like a diamond shape over here. If you click and drag, see how it's letting you go ahead and slant that letter. Now the one that is outside of the box, that's rotate. So you can rotate a letter. So again, once you do that, this is the center, so that's allowing you to move it up and down. You still have the one that allows you to move it left to right. Now, the other ones that we have are all going to be resizing. So the one on the far right is proportional resizing. So that's allowing you to proportionally resize that character. Now the one in the center top right below your rotate is allowing you to make this taller or shorter, but it is not changing the width. And then that last one that's over here on the far right in the middle allows you to make it wider or narrower, but it is not changing the height. Okay? Yes, when you click outside of something, that deselects what you have. Always go ahead and click right on the edge, and it's going to put a box around the whole object. Okay? Ready with me on that one? Okay, so remember 1 to 1 is going to make it actual size. 2 was fit to window. Now, as far as the accent, like we said, that is on our special characters list inside the font help menu. So you can go in and print this out, and that's going to be the same across the board for any of the fonts. So if it's contained in the font, then the same character in the font help menu would give that to you. Okay? Okay. So let's go ahead and let's do a slanted line of text. So we're going to go ahead and use that same line angle. So I'm going to click on line angle again. I'm going to left click and let go. move my cursor so I've got a slanted line, left click and let go, move my cursor up. So again, see how you can move your cursor up to get the height of your text. And then we're going to type. So with the line angle tool, this is giving you an angled line of text. The reason why we are pointing that out is because the next baseline that we are going to do is a little bit different. So if I come back in here to that flyout and I grab the step tool. So I'm going to left click and let go just like I did a minute ago. Move my cursor at an angle. Left click and let go. Move this up to get the height of my text. And then type. So see how these are all stair-stepping? Again, they're stair-stepping because with the step tool, that's what's allowing me to go ahead and keep these letters completely vertical. This one is literally going at the angle I drew the line. These are stair-stepping because each letter has got to stay vertical to the line. So it's stair-stepping up or down depending upon which direction you drew your line. Okay. Does everybody have sound? I know a couple of people said they lost sound. Is everybody okay with sound? Can you hear me? Okay. So it looks like we're okay with sound. So let's keep going. Again, hopefully, like I said, if you're having issues with sound or anything like that, go into that control panel under your audio and just test your audio again. If you need to, go ahead and switch over to the telephone mode. Okay. So the next baseline that we want to do is going to be our text baseline. So with our line angle and our step tool, those were box baselines. I had to draw the box. Now, if I come back in here to my flyout and I go to my text tool, with my text tool, I'm literally going to draw a line. So I'm going to left click to start it. If I hold my shift key is allowing me to actually, in theory, stay within 15 degrees. But if you just move it straight across, it's allowing you to go ahead and keep that line straight. Left click at the end of your line. Then you're going to hit the enter key. Again, when you hit the enter key, then you're going to go ahead and type in your name. Click on OK, and it's going to come up in the box. Okay, is everybody okay with that? So yes, we were holding the shift key. So let's go ahead. I'm going to delete that off my screen. So we'll try it again. So we're going to go to the text tool. So again, if you didn't pick it yet, when you click and hold, it brings out your flyout. We're going to click on the text tool. Left click to start my line. Hold the shift key. Left click at the end of the line. So again, see how you can go ahead and draw your line? So the shift key is going to keep it straight. Left click at the end of the line, hit the enter key and type. Oops, let's go ahead and backspace. I'm going to put that. There we go. Oh, see if I can type today. You'd think it's a Monday with the way I'm typing. All right. Click on OK, and it's going to put your name on the screen. All right. Did that kind of answer your question there? All right, so with this text baseline, so like we said, the text baseline, and this kind of goes back to one of the other questions that we had. So with any of our baselines, with the text justify, it is actually centering the text on the line itself. That's how it defaults. So if you wanted to come in and you wanted to left justify your text, you can come into text justify, click, and it's going to go over to left justify. Again, like we said, here's center justify. Here is right justify, so it's moving along the baseline. Now we also come down under justify. Here is what we call fill the baseline. So remember, I just drew a line. If I click on fill the baseline, it's going to figure out the right height letters to fill the baseline without going ahead and stretching them or squishing them in. Now we also have what's called fill the box, which the same thing. In this case, it's going to stretch it in order to fill the box using the height that I put in there. Now when you're doing names especially, fill the baseline and fill the box are usually not going to be what you want to use with that. We have something called shrink to fit. So if I'm putting names, let's say, on team items, so the whole team is eventually going to be together and people are going to see the names, you don't want to have them all different sizes. So you're going to pick a particular size. So let's say in this case, I want the height to be 0.75. So I can type in 0.75. Here's my name at 0.75. It's centered on this line. So in my case, it is not exceeding the 4-inch line that I drew. So I'm fine. I don't have to make any adjustments to that. Now, if I have a longer name, so again, yes, up here with my name on the screen, and I'm looking with just what's in the box, this is the width. So it's 2.75 right now. So if I have a longer name, so see up here, now my name is 5.76. Let's say that I don't want 5.76. I need to keep it in that 4-inch space. So I can come over here to shrink to fit, and I can go with compression. So with width compression, it's only going to change the names that need it. So this is longer. Obviously, it's changing it. On the other hand, if I change it and I put in just Jenny, it doesn't change. So that shrink to fit with the width compression is usually what people are doing when they're doing names. Again, if you try and use that fill box because you don't want it to exceed the 4 inches, look what it's going to do to Jenny. And what's really going to look messed up is if you put in something like Ed. You don't want it to look like that. So instead of this, you're going to go ahead, leave this on center. Again, you have your shrink to fit set for width compression. So it's using the 0.75 height. And if it needs to adjust it, then it will. Okay, everybody with me on that one? So the only one that you should have to draw a box is going to be line angle and our step baseline. So if you're using the text baseline, you are just drawing a line. Okay? So you left click and you're always letting go. You're going to move that across using your shift tool. Put that second point in, and again, hit your enter key. So again, make sure that you're using the right one depending upon which one you're trying to copy that we're doing. Okay, does anyone have any other questions for a minute? All right. So again, that shrink to fit is really important. I know we had a couple questions in regards to, why is it not taking up the whole box? Again, it's because of the way that we have with that shrink to fit option, as well as being able to left justify, right justify. So center justify is the default. So it's always centering whatever you've typed on the line. So even if you did line angle where you had to draw the whole box, again, it still has a baseline and that's where it's centering. Okay? Okay, so our next baseline that we want to use is also going to be a line baseline. So I'm going to click over here and hold. I'm going to go here to my vertical. So again, you are going to type in whatever you want this to be. So let's say I type in that 0.75 again. Left click and let go. Hold my shift key. Again, like remember, it can go within 15 degrees, but if you're dragging it straight down, you can left click, hit the enter key, and then type. Now with this one, the only way to justify this, so you have top, which is what it's set for, bottom, so now it's set for the bottom, middle, and then you have fit to line. So it definitely does not have the same options when you're doing vertical text. But again, you can force it to fit that line that you drew. Now, can anyone tell me why I only have one color on my screen right now? Anybody have a guess they want to put in the chat box as to why I only have one color? Right, I didn't tell it anything else. If you don't tell it to do something, it has no idea what you're thinking. So right now I have the box around the word vertical. If I want that to be a different color, I need to click on the bottom set of colors at the colors at the bottom of my screen here. So if you click on something and there's a box around it, you can make it another color. Now see here, there's a box around my letter E, and it changed it. So if you go ahead and you click, so there's a box around a letter, and then you click this. See how it's going ahead and letting me change individual letters? So again, that center dot comes into play again. So with that center dot, so that the one item is selected, then it allows you to come in and change individual letters. It could be the same colors. So like here I did red, blue, red, blue, red. I've gone red, blue, click over here. Make this yellow or orange or whatever color that is. Come in here and make this brown. So, I mean, whatever you want to do, it's going to allow you to do that. All right. Does anyone have any questions on how we did that? So let's say, yes, with the pink, we're going to get to the colors. So if I have this pink selected, let's say this is not the pink that I wanted. If I right click over here on that pink and I go to thread change, I can scroll over here and look for it that way. If I know the cone number, I can type the cone number in, hit search, click OK, and it's going to make it that color. So you can definitely come in here and have it put in the exact colors that you plan on sewing. So if I come over here to my print preview and I scroll down, you can see over here that that 1, 2, 3, 4 that I typed in and searched for, that's going to show up here in my printout. So again, like we were just saying with that, so I'm going to hit close and close this. So if the colors that you want are here, that's great. If they're not, you can come in here and change this palette. So if you right click, you go to thread change, it's going to allow you to go in and select a color. Or like I said, you can type in whatever you want it to be. And it's going to put those colors up here on the screen. Does anyone have any other questions in regards to the colors? If you want to create the whole thread chart at the bottom, you could come in here and just start adding more colors. So if you want to put every thread you own up here, that's fine. So you can start adding threads, right-clicking, putting them up here. That's up to you. Usually you're not going to have that. I mean, that gets to be really busy down here if you put a whole thread chart down there. I'm not going to say you can't, but I mean, it's really confusing. So what most people will do, like I said, is they're going to come in and set up the colors they're going to use for that design. So like I said, you're going to right click and start to put those colors in. And then you can make the design the colors that you intend to sew out. You can also save a thread chart. You can. So when you come in here, there's that little, I guess it's a paintbrush. So when you click on the paintbrush, you can say save a thread palette. So once you have created a custom thread chart down here, you can name it so that you can bring it up later. So yes, you can save the thread chart. As far as do they have updated thread charts, whatever's in there is what the latest thread charts that Pulse has been given. So if the thread manufacturer does not give Pulse the most updated thread chart, then it's not going to have it. So we have whatever the last, updated thread charts that were given to Pulse is what's in here. Does anyone have any other questions? Because we're going to give you a quick break. So we're going to give you about a 10-minute break. After the break, we're going to get into things that curve. Then we're going to get into our monograms. We're going to get into our TrueType fonts. We'll look at your homework. So we've got quite a bit to still cover, but again, obviously sitting here for quite a long time, people need to get up, move, do whatever. So let's go ahead and give you a 10-minute break. After the break, we are going to jump into some more new material. But if you do have questions, please go ahead and post those questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them as soon as we are done with our break. So again, everyone have a great break, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. So again, we'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you.